Hello. So we're talking about Go Global for 30 minutes. Do we have anything to show? Yes. So we have Kang-san from AIZEN CEO. And Global Bay, Kato-san is here. Can you give us a big applause, please? Okay, let's get started. So Go Global. So we are going to take example from overseas Fintech, how they grown. So Kang-san is the CEO of Korea. It was a startup company. Now they have sites overseas, especially in Southeast Asia. How did you, how a startup company proceeded into abroad? So let's do self-introduction. So Kang-san, can you start? Hi, I am Kang Seok, CEO AIZEN. Well, this is my first presentation in Japanese. So you have to be forgiven, even if I made a mistake. Our company provides financial solutions for banking and financing industry. Grab, Gojek. We provide financial platform, the company, especially in Southeast Asia, including Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand. So our company, before I started this company, I was working for Citigroup, Strategy Risk Management. Well, in this session, I asked you to speak Japanese, but you can speak Korean, and Kato-san is Korean native. This is my request for you to speak Japanese. Sorry. Kato-san now. Kato-san, can you do self-introduction? Hi, this is Kato from Global Brain. Let me just go through briefly about our company overview, and then I'm talking for myself. We are the venture capital independent one, and we have Shibuya headquarters, and also we have office in Kyoto as well, so that we can look after entire Japan. 1998, we established a company, so we are quite an older company as a capital. So we are investing a lot for overseas companies. So we have an overseas office now and moving on to United States, UK, Germany, 10 overseas sites, really. So we are heavily investing abroad as well. So this is myself. I am second generation from Korean family. I joined as a system engineer at MS and AD. However, then after that, I started wanting to work in more global. So Kotora, that's like a Korean version of Jetro. I joined that Kotora. Then where I started to associate with startup company in Korea. And I was helping Korean startup company who wants to join Japanese market. And then Global Brain, I came to Global Brain to work. And now doing sourcing. Thank you. Okay, now I myself. I'm a chairman of Fintech Association Takao Tomomichi. We have about 450 members, of which 300 is a financial industry. So financial innovation can be disruptive, but I see more of open innovation. We have to work together, not distracting something. So on the other hand, I am a CLO, Chief Legal Officer of a company called Funds. So whoever works in a financial company, you have to be aware of the legal prospects. And the connection with Osaka, I was born in Sakai, and I am the member of Osaka Promotion Committee for Global Finance City. I live in Kansai as well. So it's my honor to be invited to here. So this is a Fintech Association of Japan. It's 10th term. And you hear the term Fintech quite a lot in past 3 years. So now we are in the actual implementation phase for this project. So maybe the concept is quite familiar for you now. Right? Okay, that's all from me. Let's move on to the discussion. So we have only limited time. So we are going to straight onto the subject. What are the key elements for startup to successfully expand overseas? Not just Japan, but for instance, the startup company wherever it is, if they try to go abroad, there are some key elements for them to be successful. How they can secure resources, human resources, and not developing the site is not good enough. You have to find the distribution route and how you can localize. And in terms of finance, you have to deal with regulation in the country, right? So, as we have been through, yes, I'm going to use the page screen. So, AIZEN Global. You have sites in Vietnam, Thailand, in Southeast Asia. So from your point of view, before you go global, what's the most important element? How did you become successful? So startup company and a new growing company, I think technology is quite important. NVIDIA, I was listening to the session, and GPU, data center, they're talking about those agendas. So technology, well, back in those days, technology was the United States was fast to come up with technology, and everybody followed U.S. success. And all those Asian companies just followed the suits. That was the mechanism back in those days. But now, well, we don't see many gaps between US and the other rest of the world. So GPU, this is AI technology. And then yesterday, GPU was born in the United States, but now Japan can use the same technology tomorrow. So in terms of globalization, what's most important thing is that you have to create your business model with globalization in your mind or in your vision. Otherwise, you cannot succeed. So what we are doing now is a globalization. However, other things, other larger agenda like CO2 reductions and mobilities, so European company, United States, and entire Asia, they are all concerned about CO2 reduction. Those big trend, I think it's quite important trend. And having said that, in terms of technology, how you become global, and you have to draw the line where you localize the technology or keep your own technologies. So that goes to hiring people as well. Do you want local people or do you want to get human resources before you move on to overseas? So you are talking about, you have to see the big trend, entire world, big trend, then think about what you can do. Well, we are talking about big trend. So, but every and each player know what is a big trend, right? So, in that case, so this is an open truth, not hidden truth. So you have to be aware. I mean, everybody knows what's a big trend, and everybody is thinking about this big trend. Well, big trend is important, otherwise corporates cannot exist. But the detailed strategy, and you have to create the relationship with business partner. When I proceeded into Indonesia, I think the technology to electrify the buses in Korea is quite happening. But as an industry, as itself, well, they are moving to electrification. But the most conservative industry is finance. And industrialization, the entire globe has not completed the cycle. So we don't, some company or some country are not aware of the risks. You have to think about premium and insurance as well. That goes to Asia and the United States. So the insurance premium is quite important. We do AI and we provide an AI service. So up above the layer, above us, there's NVIDIA. We use sometimes Pro interface. And that's the layer. And data is quite important to analyze everything. But in the ecosystem, Grab, GoTech, they have data for the motorcycle being used in East Southeast Asia, and we take data from those use. So at the moment, we are focusing on bicycle, but now Honda is expanding into Southeast Asia. So this is a change and this is a trend. So this company has technology, but they don't know how to utilize this technology. For that part, for the Chinese and Asian company to grow technologically, in Japan you can find many industry.
So one of the major industry is finance in Japan. So therefore, together with Japanese financial institution, when you go global, I believe that it's better for you and us. My understanding is that suppose that there's a big theme, and how to handle that big theme is that suppose that when we try to go EV, how to procure batteries or how to think about investment capex and also financial support is necessary. And when we have to do evaluation of all the things, AIZEN is very good at evaluating them. And in Japan, auto industry is very powerful. So therefore, so you have a kind of dilemma in Japan. However, in East Asian countries, the country itself has a big motivation to go to EV. That's the story what you said, right? Yes. Based on what you said earlier, global brain. So actually, as we have investments from Series B, global brain is very special. Actually, my understanding is that VC is very domestic industry because so we have to have deep understanding of the domestic market. Otherwise, VC cannot survive. In that sense, VC in Japan is very domestic, I think. But global brain has 7 or 8 bases overseas. In that case, your business is very special or unique. And based on your experiences, Kato-san, so when startup would like to go global, what kind of support can you give? And also, what's your impression after listening to what the Kang-san said? Thank you. Kang-san, the story was based on the perspective of business owner. But when I try to make a comment from the perspective of investor, I believe that the most important thing to go global is to market investigation, market research. Of course, we need to think about speed and trend, but so it takes labor to go global, actually. When I was in Kotra, to support startup that would like to go into Japanese market, so how to recruit people? So of course, hiring people requires a lot of resources. But in some cases, there have been mismatch of talent. So therefore, it's very important to start from market research and localization. And whether or not your own product has a certain amount of needs in a country you like to go into. Global brain is supporting so overseas startups. This is because we have overseas bases, and also we are able to collaborate with local VC to invest in such startups. And however, so far, so we don't have so much demand of Japanese startups to go abroad. So far, we have supported overseas startups that would like to go into the Japanese market. This is what we have conducted so far, and we have many track record of that. And we have supported by So taking into account whether or not a specific products can be sold in a particular market. For instance, when it comes to the Chinese market, so there will be a special delivery service available in Japan. In China. So there is a startup that is developing a robot for delivery service. And the company would like to deploy such business in Japan. That startup has a certain history in China, but when they try to go into Japanese market, such a demand is not available in Japan, actually, although they have very excellent technology of robot, but it didn't work. In other words, the demand in the Japanese market cannot be understood by such a startup. So therefore, I joined them to find appropriate needs. So actually, we found out that a hotel had a certain demand for such robot to deliver some goods. So we supported the startups in the perspective of sales activities. In summary, the perspective between business owner and the VC needs to be aligned. I believe that it's very hard for overseas startup to business in Japan because Japanese startups also have difficulty in starting business in Japan. Of course, we like to carefully support overseas startup to go into the Japanese market. However, it takes time and labor, and it will be very hard. So therefore, certain strategy of startup side is essential so that we VC can support in an appropriate manner. Thank you. I came up with 2 points while listening to your comments. So as Kang-san mentioned, everything moves so fast recently. So we need to do everything in a smoother manner. And on the other hand, Kato-san mentioned the importance of market research. So how to strike a balance between the certainty of certain demand or needs in the market and speed. So I'd like to ask you, Kang-san, that so as a financial institution, you are supporting or you are doing research activities or launching activity together with potential startups or not. So financial bank is very big, and they have many departments. And what our company is doing in Indonesia is that so startup try to identify opportunities, and financial institutions will invest in such startups if there is a certain needs there. Therefore, so if our company have already decided to invest in certain startups, other financial institutions follow suit because there will be a certain credibility or probability of business success of business. And Kato-san mentioned it's very hard to do business in Japan. On the other hand, Kang-san mentioned it's very important to have a global mindset from scratch. So based on that, so culture or tool or I believe that South Korea has its own culture. So culture-wise, what kind of thing do we have to take in account? Well, I learned a lot when I worked in Citigroup, and Citigroup tried to make every culture the same, regardless of a country. And my company started in South Korea, but currently not 100%. So we are communicating with each other in English internally. So BOD meeting is conducted in English, right? Yes, and also all the documents are written in English. That kind of culture would be necessary, correct? So I have many Slack channels, and one of them should be conducted in English, actually. Okay, so due to time constraint, let us move on to the next topic. I'm afraid I have difficulty in managing time, but let's go. So I'd like to talk about the stance of Japanese and Korean startups on overseas expansion. So actually, personally, I have many friends in South Korea, and both of you have a Korean background, so I'd like to ask you something. What do you think about this topic? Stance of the difference of Japanese and Korean startups on overseas expansion. I believe that, as Kang-san mentioned, Korean startups try to take into account a global market from scratch. So partly because Korean market is very small, therefore they have to go global to survive. So when I have interview with startup members, I feel such differences. So when I have interview with Japanese startups, they don't take into global market into account, partly because of the big existing market in Japan. So even if the population is decreasing, still the population is over 100 million. Therefore, I don't think they have to think about global markets. They try to be suitable to make their products suitable to Japanese market. And I think that Japanese startups are very careful, maybe too careful in some cases, and they are very good at market research. So therefore, I think that Japanese startups have very good potential to go overseas. On the other hand, Korean startups is very ambitious and take action earlier than other countries' startups. The economic scale of South Korea is around $2 trillion, and the Japanese market is more than double, I think. So therefore, some startups may think that it's enough to go active in Japanese market. On the other hand, GDP of the U.S. is $25 trillion, so huge. So China, 18 trillion, and Europe is also huge. So from the global standpoint, Japan is larger, smaller than other countries. Of course, Korean startups have to go overseas to make a profit and to grow. But I think that it's also true to Japanese startups that would like to go more and more. So I believe that the GDP of South Korea is very huge, maybe 7 trillion yen. And in Asia, including South Korea and Japan, it would be very important to have a global strategy. In that case, so when we try to invite Korean people, it would be useful or helpful for Japanese startups to take action as quick as possible. Thank you very much. Time is up, I'm afraid. So before closing, do you have any last-minute comment? No? Okay. So this concludes this session. Thank you very much. So after this session, so we are standing outside for maybe 10 or 15 minutes outside. So if you have any questions, please contact us later. And please give them a big hand. Thank you.